My parents secretly copied my apartment key and moved my sister in while I was gone. She's now facing criminal charges and they're next. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post, posted to r/relationships. I, 29M, need to get this off my chest because I'm still shaking with rage, and I need to know if I did the right thing here. I just got back from what was supposed to be a 2-week business trip to Seattle. Came home 3 days early because the client wrapped up negotiations faster than expected. What I found when I walked into MY apartment at 11 p.m. last night has me questioning everything about my family. Let me give you some background first. I'm James, I work in corporate acquisitions for a tech firm, and I've been living in my own place in downtown Chicago for 4 years now. It's a nice 2-bedroom apartment that I worked my ass off to afford, $2,800 a month, which I pay entirely on my own. No roommates, no financial help from anyone. This is important. My younger sister Sarah, 27F, has always been the family favorite. While I was working 2 jobs to put myself through college, she was getting her art degree fully funded by our parents, Robert, 55M, and Patricia, 53F. When I graduated with $45,000 in student loans, she graduated debt-free. When I was sleeping on a friend's couch trying to save for a security deposit, she was living rent-free in our parents' basement to focus on her art. You get the picture. 6 months ago, Sarah decided she wanted to move to Chicago to explore the art scene. Our parents immediately started pressuring me to let her stay with me, just temporarily, until she found her own place. I said absolutely not. I'd worked too hard for my privacy and independence to give it up. Plus, Sarah's version of temporary tends to stretch into years. She lived with our parents until she was 26. The pressure didn't stop. Every family dinner became a guilt trip. Family helps family, my mother would say. You have that spare bedroom just sitting empty, my father would add. Sarah's your only sister, they'd remind me, as if I'd somehow forgotten. I held firm. I told them Sarah was an adult who needed to figure out her own living situation, just like I had to. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. I got assigned to handle a major acquisition in Seattle, huge opportunity for my career. I'd be gone for 2 weeks, maybe 3. I mentioned it to my parents during our monthly dinner, mostly because my mom always freaks out if she can't reach me for more than a few days. Big mistake. So last night, I'm exhausted from the flight, looking forward to my own bed, my own shower, my own space. I unlock my door, and immediately something feels off. There are shoes I don't recognize in the entryway. There's a purse on my console table. The air smells different, like perfume I don't own. My first thought was that someone had broken in. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep in the coat closet and started creeping through my apartment. The living room was rearranged. There were art supplies all over my dining table. Strange clothes draped over my couch. Then I heard it, snoring coming from the spare bedroom. I pushed open the door, and there she was. Sarah. In MY apartment. In the spare bed. Surrounded by boxes of her stuff. Her clothes hanging in the closet. Her toiletries all over the guest bathroom. She'd moved in. Completely moved in. I stood there for probably 30 seconds, just trying to process what I was seeing. Then the rage hit. I didn't wake her up. Instead, I stepped back into the hallway and called 911. I'd like to report a break-in, I told the dispatcher. There's an intruder in my apartment. The dispatcher asked if I was safe, if the intruder was armed. I told her I was safe, that the intruder appeared to be sleeping, but that they had clearly been living in my apartment without my knowledge or consent. She sent officers immediately. While waiting for the police, I documented everything with my phone. Every box, every piece of clothing, every sign that someone had been living in MY space without my permission. I also checked my security system logs on my phone. She'd been here for 8 days. 8 fucking days of coming and going like she owned the place. The police arrived within 15 minutes. I met them in the hallway and explained the situation, that I'd been out of town on business, that I lived alone, that I had not given anyone permission to enter my apartment, and that I'd found this person had moved themselves in while I was gone. Do you know who it is? One officer asked. I believe it's my sister, I said. But she doesn't have my permission to be here. She's never had a key. This is breaking and entering. They looked surprised, but I showed them my lease, only my name, my ID, matching the address, and the security logs showing I'd been gone and she'd been coming and going. They agreed that regardless of the family relationship, this was criminal trespassing at minimum. What happened next was simultaneously the most satisfying and most horrible moment of my life. The officers entered the spare room and woke Sarah up. The confusion on her face quickly turned to shock when she saw the uniforms. "James," she said, seeing me behind the officers. "You're back early. I can explain, Dash." "Ma'am, we need you to get dressed and come with us," the lead officer interrupted. "What?" "James, tell them it's okay." "Mom and Dad said Dash." "Mom and Dad don't own this apartment," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I do. And you're trespassing." The officers asked her to provide proof she had permission to be in the apartment. She couldn't, of course. She kept saying our parents had given her a key, that they said I'd agreed to it, that it was all a misunderstanding. "How did you get a key?" the officer asked. "My parents gave it to me," she said, starting to cry. "They said James knew about it." I felt my blood run cold. "I never gave them a key to give to you. The only spare key is in my office lockbox." I paused, a horrible realization dawning. Unless. I went to my kitchen junk drawer where I keep a spare key hidden under some papers. It's for emergencies, and only my parents know about it. It was gone. "They took my emergency key," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "My parents stole my emergency key and gave it to her." The officers took Sarah into custody right there in my apartment. She was crying, begging me to stop this, saying I was ruining her life over a misunderstanding. But it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a violation. A massive, deliberate violation of my privacy, my trust, and my explicit boundaries. After they left with Sarah, I called a 24-hour locksmith and had every lock changed. Then I went through my apartment like a crime scene investigator. She'd eaten my food, used my expensive coffee maker, had her art supplies all over my dining table, including paint that had dripped onto the wood, had been sleeping in my sheets, using my towels, my everything. She'd even gone through my home office. Papers were moved, my filing system was disturbed. The rage just kept building. This wasn't just about space. This was about years of being treated like my boundaries didn't matter, like my hard work meant I owed everyone else the fruits of it, like saying no was just the opening position in a negotiation I was destined to lose. I've already gotten 17 missed calls from my parents and dozens of texts ranging from "call us immediately" to "how dare you" to "Sarah made a mistake, but calling the police is unforgivable." I haven't responded to any of them. Sarah spent the night in jail. She's being charged with criminal trespassing and breaking and entering. My parents are threatening to never speak to me again if I don't drop the charges. They're saying I'm destroying the family over a simple misunderstanding, that Sarah was just accepting what she thought was a generous offer from her brother, that I'm being vindictive and cruel. But here's the thing, I never made that offer. They stole my key. They lied to Sarah, although I suspect she knew damn well I hadn't agreed to this. They violated my home, my privacy, my explicitly stated boundaries. And now they want me to just roll over and accept it because family. I'm done. I'm pressing charges. I've already contacted a lawyer about sending cease and desist letters to my parents. I'm looking into security cameras and additional locks. I may even move just to ensure they can never do this again. Am I the asshole here? Because honestly, I feel like I'm going insane. How is it possible that I'm the bad guy for not wanting someone to secretly move into my apartment while I'm gone? Update 1. Posted 3 days later. Well, the situation has exploded exactly as dramatically as you might expect. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Your validation that I wasn't crazy meant more than you know. First, let me address some questions from the comments. Yes, I'm still pressing charges. No, I haven't wavered even once. And yes, my sister absolutely knew I hadn't given permission. I have proof now. So here's what's happened. Sarah was released on bail the morning after her arrest. My parents, of course, paid for it. She immediately went to their house and they've been strategizing ever since. I know this because my Aunt Jennifer, my mom's sister, called me to give me a heads up. Apparently, my parents have been calling every relative we have, trying to spin this story as me having a mental breakdown, being cruel, even suggesting I'm on drugs because no sane person would have their own sister arrested. Aunt Jennifer didn't buy it. She said, "James, your mother admitted to me that they took your key while you were at dinner last month. She said you were being stubborn about Sarah and they needed to help facilitate family bonding. She literally admitted to taking your key without permission." I asked Jennifer if she'd be willing to write a statement about this conversation. She agreed immediately. But the real bombshell came when I went through my security footage more carefully. I have a Ring doorbell I'd forgotten about. I installed it years ago and honestly rarely check it. The footage is saved to the cloud for 60 days. I went through it all. Day 1 of my trip. Nothing. Day 2. Nothing. Day 3. My parents arrive at 10 a.m. My father has a key. They enter with multiple boxes. Day 3, 2 p.m. My parents return with Sarah and more boxes. They're all laughing. I can clearly hear my mother say, "He'll get over it once he sees how well you maintain the place." Day 3, 4 p.m. My parents leave. Sarah stays. The footage shows them making multiple trips. They didn't just give her a key, they helped her move in. They spent an entire day facilitating this invasion. And the audio makes it clear they all knew I hadn't agreed to this. I've saved all the footage and sent it to my lawyer and the prosecutor. Speaking of the prosecutor, they've upgraded the charges against Sarah to include theft, she admits to eating my food and using my things, and are now investigating my parents for conspiracy to commit breaking and entering, accessory to criminal trespassing, and theft of a key with intent to commit a crime. My parents found out about the potential charges yesterday. The calls and texts have gone from angry to absolutely unhinged. My father left me a voicemail saying I'm dead to him if I don't fix this immediately. My mother sent me a text saying I've destroyed Sarah's future over petty sibling rivalry, and that she'll never forgive me for choosing pride over family. Sarah herself has been texting from various numbers, I keep blocking her, with messages ranging from suicide threats to apologies to more threats. In one text she admitted she knew I'd said no but thought I'd get over it once I saw how responsible she was being. In another, she said our parents convinced her that I was just being stubborn and that I'd secretly appreciate the surprise of her being there when I got back. The entitlement is astounding. They really thought I'd come home, find her living in my apartment, and just accept it? That I'd shrug and say, "Well, you're here now, might as well stay?" My lawyer has sent cease and desist letters to all three of them. If they contact me again except through legal channels, it's harassment and will be added to the charges. Oh, and here's a fun detail. Sarah apparently told her friends she was moving into her brother's luxury apartment and had been posting Instagram stories from my place, calling it her new Chicago home. Multiple people have reached out asking if I knew she was living with me because she'd been telling everyone about her generous brother who was finally supporting her art. The delusion is real. I'm staying in a hotel right now because I can't stand being in my apartment knowing they were all in there, touching my things, laughing about deceiving me. The locksmith came back and installed smart locks that alert my phone anytime someone even touches the door handle. I'm having a deep clean done tomorrow and I'm looking into breaking my lease early. Some family members are supporting me, others think I've gone too far. I don't care anymore. They stole from me, lied to me, invaded my home, and expected me to just take it because we share DNA. Well, DNA doesn't give you the right to commit crimes against someone. I'll update again after the court dates. Sarah's is next month, and if the prosecutor moves forward with charges against my parents, theirs will likely be shortly after. To those asking if I feel guilty, no. I feel angry, violated, and disappointed. But not guilty. They made their choices. Now they can live with the consequences. Update 2, posted 6 weeks later. It's been 6 weeks since everything went down, and I thought I'd provide an update since so many of you have been asking. First, the legal stuff. Sarah pled guilty to criminal trespassing in exchange for having the breaking and entering charges dropped. She got 6 months probation, 100 hours of community service, and has to pay me $2,400 in restitution for the food, utilities, and items she used/damaged. She now has a criminal record. Good luck getting a lease with that, Sarah. The prosecutor did decide to charge my parents. They're facing charges of conspiracy to commit criminal trespassing and accessory to criminal trespassing. Their lawyer is trying to get the charges dismissed, arguing they had a good faith belief that I would ultimately consent. The footage of them laughing about how I'd get over it pretty much destroys that defense. Their trial is set for next month. The family has completely imploded. My parents have rallied some relatives to their side, mostly the ones who benefit from their generosity. But a surprising number have sided with me, especially after Aunt Jennifer shared the full story of what my mother told her. Turns out, I'm not the only one who's had their boundaries trampled by my parents over the years. My grandmother, my dad's mom, called me last week. She said she was ashamed of her son and that she'd written him out of her will. I didn't raise him to be a thief and a liar, she said. That hit harder than I expected. Sarah has been spiraling. She lost her job at the art gallery. Turns out having a criminal record isn't great for employment, and she's back living with our parents. She posted a long, dramatic Facebook post about how I'd ruined her life over a misunderstanding, and how family should forgive each other. The comments were brutal. Turns out, people don't have much sympathy for someone who secretly moves into someone else's apartment. She also tried to file a civil suit against me for emotional distress and defamation. Her lawyer dropped her after seeing the evidence. Turns out, Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and she can't claim emotional distress when she committed the crime. As for my apartment, I did end up breaking my lease. The landlord was understanding after I explained the situation and showed him the police report. I found a new place in a high-security building with multiple checkpoints, doorman, key fob for the elevator, and my apartment door has both a smart lock and a traditional deadbolt. Maybe it's overkill, but I sleep better. I've also been in therapy to deal with the anger and sense of betrayal. My therapist says what my family did wasn't just about the apartment. It was about a lifetime of my boundaries being ignored and my success being seen as a family resource. She's right. This wasn't the first time they'd pulled something like this, just the most extreme. My work has been incredibly supportive. My boss actually gave me a raise after the Seattle deal closed successfully, and mentioned that my ability to handle that negotiation while dealing with personal challenges showed real character. At least something good came from this mess. The cease and desist letters have mostly worked. I haven't heard directly from my parents or Sarah, though they're still trying to get messages to me through other relatives. The messages have gone from anger to bargaining to depression. Last I heard, they're telling people I'm having a mental health crisis and they're praying for me to come to my senses. I did get one interesting message through Aunt Jennifer. Apparently, Sarah had been planning to use my apartment address to apply for jobs, claiming she'd been living there longer to look more stable on applications. She'd also been planning to host an art show in my apartment without telling me. She'd already invited people and taken deposits for pieces. Those people are now demanding their money back, and she's facing potential fraud charges for that too. The entitlement truly knows no bounds. Final update, posted 3 months after the incident. This will be my final update on this situation. 3 months have passed since I came home to find my sister squatting in my apartment, and it's time to close this chapter. The legal conclusions. My parents were found guilty on all charges. They each received 1 year of probation, 200 hours of community service, and were ordered to pay me $5,000 in damages for the locks, cleaning, breaking lease, and hotel costs. The judge called their behavior an egregious violation of trust and criminal conspiracy that showed complete disregard for their son's rights and property. They looked shocked at the verdict. I think they genuinely believed until that moment that they'd done nothing wrong. Sarah has been struggling with her probation terms. She failed to show up for community service twice and nearly had her probation revoked. She's also been rejected from every apartment she's applied to due to her criminal record. Last I heard from Aunt Jennifer, she's still living with our parents and spending her days making art that's basically just paintings of me depicted as various villains. Mature. The family dynamics have permanently shifted. I'm no contact with my parents and Sarah. I've blocked them everywhere and have no intention of ever speaking to them again. The relatives are split into camps, but I've made peace with losing the ones who think I should have just let it go. If they think breaking into someone's home is forgivable because of shared DNA, they're not people I want in my life. Surprisingly, I've grown closer to relatives I barely knew before. Cousins who reached out to support me, aunts and uncles who shared their own stories of my parents' boundary crossing, my grandmother who's become my fiercest defender. I'm building a chosen family of people who actually respect me. My new apartment is perfect. It's in a converted historic building with amazing security, and I've made friends with my neighbors. The doorman knows my coffee order and always asks about my day. It feels like home in a way my old place never did after the violation. Work has been incredible. That Seattle deal led to a promotion and a significant raise. I'm now heading up my own team and traveling internationally for negotiations. My boss mentioned that my ability to maintain professional excellence despite personal adversity was noticed by senior management. Silver linings, I guess. Therapy has been life-changing. I've realized how much I'd normalized their behavior over the years. How many red flags I'd ignored. How many boundaries I'd let them cross before this. My therapist helped me understand that going no contact isn't cruel, it's self-preservation. The last piece of drama came 2 weeks ago. My parents tried to use my grandmother as a messenger, asking her to convince me to meet them for closure. She told them that the only closure needed was for them to accept responsibility for their actions and respect my decision to cut contact. She then called me and said, "They still don't get it, honey. They think they're the victims here." She's 84 years old and sees it more clearly than they do. I've had people ask if I regret calling the police, if I wish I'd handled it differently. The answer is no. They committed crimes against me. They faced appropriate consequences. The fact that we're related doesn't change that. If anything, it makes it worse. They were supposed to be the people I could trust most in the world. For anyone reading this who's dealing with family members who don't respect boundaries, you're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You have the right to your own space, your own life, your own boundaries. Family doesn't mean ownership. Love doesn't mean entitlement. And sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. I'm building a good life here. I'm successful, I'm setting healthy boundaries, and I'm surrounded by people who actually respect me. My parents and Sarah made their choices. They chose to violate my trust, steal from me, and lie to me. They chose to commit crimes rather than respect my no. Now they get to live with the consequences of those choices. I don't wish them ill, but I also don't wish them well. I nothing them. And honestly, that feels like freedom. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this. Your comments, messages, and validation kept me sane when my entire family was trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the villain. You helped me stand firm when everyone around me was trying to make me bend. This is James, signing off. I'm going to go live my life now, the one I worked for, the one I earned, the one that's actually mine.